All right, Pete, the January transfer window has just closed. Everton did get a deal done, and that was for Charlie Alcaraz. Is there an expectation that this will be made permanent in the summer, or was this a loan deal just because they weren't sure about the player? Is it a financial reason? Why Charlie Alcaraz on loan?
Yeah, obviously Everton were looking at a number of players right up until the deadline. My understanding is they had four players ready to go on deadline day, but they only ended up doing Charlie Alcaraz on loan from Flamengo. It's a loan with a conditional obligation to buy, which Everton and Flamengo fully expect to happen. I think there's a clause in there that if he makes 8 appearances during this loan spell at Goodison Park, the deal will become permanent for fee of around £16.5 million as well. So obviously there's a few conditions in there to be met, but I think there's all expectations that Alcaraz will make that move to Everton permanent, and he will be playing in that new stadium next season as well as helping Everton between now and the end of the season. So a good signing, a signing that Everton needed, especially following the injury to Oriel Mangala, obviously, who's suffered a cruciate knee ligament injury, and now he is out for a lengthy period of time, and he'd become a key man in that Everton midfield as well. So Alcaraz comes in, he's a tenacious midfielder. The, Probably the bonus is that he's got Premier League experience from a short stint at Southampton as well, so he'll come in and add some energy, creativity into that midfield, and the full expectations is that this loan deal will become permanent in the summer.
And Pete, you did mention they had 4 deals ready to go on deadline day. Who were those other few that didn't make the move to Everton?
Yeah, I think obviously we know Everton were working on numerous deals in January, but obviously PSR and FFP restrictions did probably restrict them from making too many other signings. Obviously a striker was a top priority for Everton to try and bring in January, but they weren't able to find the right man. Tom Fellows at West Brom was another one that they held talks with West Brom about trying to sign him, but they couldn't get a deal agreed for the young English winger, so he will remain at West Brom for now. But I would fully expect Everton to rekindle their interest in Fellows come the summer window, because I believe David Moyes is looking maybe at signing young British talent for next season. That's going to be one of his key sort of policies for the transfer window in the summer. He's going to be looking at young players that the club can develop, and obviously we've seen David Moyes have large successes in the past signing players from the Championship, the likes of Tim Cahill, Phil Jagielka, obviously Jarrod Bowen from West Ham as well. So I think that's maybe the avenue that Everton are looking at going forward in the transfer market as well. But yeah, one player in Alcaraz, and I think obviously the impact Moyes has had since his return to the club, I don't expect him to be having any relegation worries either.
No, Fellows is a doable one in the summer. I mean, if they looked at Fellows now, looking at his stats, he's got the most assists in the Championship. He's got 10 assists, 2 goals this season, 30 appearances for West Brom. The way that West Brom are going to be, his value's not going to decrease between now and the end of the season, so there's no point in them doing a deal now. When actually, I don't think Everton are going to be the only ones in for him at the end of the season. Like you say, he's playing every week, getting the experience in the Championship, and with those type of stats, what is he, still 20, 21 I think he is? And I think the fee that they pay for him is only going to increase. Listen, if he goes to Everton or goes to Brighton or another club that are looking at him, they pay whatever they pay for him in another 3 or 4 years' time. The value's potentially going to be double that. So he's not only a good player for the here and now, he's also a very good player for the investment of the future going forward.
And Paul, you mentioned obviously Tom Fellows was kind of a deal they were looking at this winter, but it seems like maybe David Moyes' nice run of matches, getting 9 points since coming in, has kind of stopped them from spending big in the January transfer window. Do you think that's actually going to hurt them long term this season, or they've now actually secured safety?
I'm not so sure that they could spend big anyway, could they? I'm not so sure that they're in a situation where they could go and splash the cash in January. But I think, listen, we were saying if you want to stay in the Premier League, you keep Sean Dyche, but you can understand the Everton fans' frustration, the turnaround in the play and the style of play, the goals that they're scoring. I mean, even Beto scoring goals. I mean, he looked like a huge waste of money, didn't he, about 3 or 4 months ago? Not getting a goal, didn't suit the system, wasn't playing at all. But actually, maybe to David Moyes' detriment, he's proved that he can do the job with the players that he's got, and they're only going to get better if he's allowed to strengthen the squad. I think his hands, or their hands, were tied a lot with the FFP and PSR, but I think they've, the big thing for them was keeping players like Jarrod Branthwaite, etc. There was talk of Calvert-Lewin going. Calvert-Lewin hasn't gone because of his injury, so he's kept a nucleus of a squad that performed well with points deductions in the last 2 seasons. Actually, David Moyes has shown that he can get a better performance out of that group of players. So maybe slightly to his detriment, he's proved that he can do it with those players. But maybe they didn't have to go rushing into a market because he'll give those players a fresh start, a clean slate, as we always say. and they've all got an opportunity to impress the new manager. And as you say, listen, they're as good as safe now, aren't they?